Good morning and welcome to another episode of Home of the World's Worst Weather Live. My name is Ian Bailey. I'm a meteorologist and education specialist, and I'm a part of a crew of 6 observers who live and work on the top of Mount Washington, taking hourly weather observations, putting out forecast products, and conducting research from the top of New England. So this is one of our Tuesday editions of Home of the World's Worst Weather Live, so we'll be taking a look at the forecast discussion for the next 48 hours. And as always, we're going to start off with some current summit conditions. So let me go ahead and put you guys on the screen so you can see what's happening. And once again, it is another calm, beautiful day up here, just like it was yesterday, and just like it was on Thursday. And when we got up here last week, the trend has continued. You can see our wind speeds are very low right now, so we're only at about 2 miles per hour, and we've been hanging out with these relatively calm winds for most of our shift so far. And we'll see if that carries through all the way through tomorrow when we have our shift change. Temperatures are in the mid to upper 50s at this point, so it's getting quite warm. We do have some warm air starting to flow in from the southwest, so that will make our temperatures creep up just a bit higher. But believe it or not, we actually did go into the fog last night and we had a little bit of rain. Not enough to register here. We only had trace amounts of precipitation lasting for maybe a half hour or so. But we were in the clouds up until this morning, and since then the clouds have lifted to just above summit level, and you'll see that when I show you the camera in just a second, which is contributing to really low visibility. So although it is sunny outside and we can see blue sky and some clouds above, these clouds that are surrounding the summit are making it very difficult to see really any distance at all. We can see just about 3 miles away from the top, and if these clouds continue to lift, our visibility will go up as well. Taking a look at the vertical temperature profile, this comes from our mesonet, the series of weather stations that go from the summit all the way back down to the base of the mountain, measuring things like temperature and wind speed. And as you can see, we have a pretty typical profile, a little bit of cold air hanging out at the mid-levels there, but for the most of the way up, temperatures are decreasing with height. So down in the valleys, it's getting quite warm into the upper 70s, while up here, once again, we are hanging out in the upper 50s. So that's a look numerically at what's going on. Let's go ahead and jump over to our webcam so you guys can take a look. This camera looks from our observation tower down across the observation deck, and there are those clouds that I was talking about just a moment ago. You can see they pretty much surround the entirety of the summit in a full 360 degrees, so we can see underneath these clouds a considerable distance, but not terribly far away. It is sunny outside and incredibly calm. The bugs have started to come up to summit level at this point, which are a little bit annoying. You might see, oh, there goes one right past the camera there. But otherwise, it is calm and stable, albeit with plenty of moisture right at the summit level blocking our view, and we'll be watching to see if these clouds lift a little bit higher throughout the day. Maybe we'll get an even better view as the day goes on. So that's taking a look at what's happening up here currently. So let's go ahead and talk about what's happening for the forecast for the next 48 hours or so. And things look like they're going to be pretty calm and stable, at least for the foreseeable 2 days. But beyond that, looking towards the weekend, it does seem like we have some moisture and precipitation headed into the northeast, maybe some more clouds and rain as the situation develops. So let's start off with our satellite view. So again, this is infrared satellite. So we're taking a look at developed cloud tops here, with the brighter colors showing you higher, more well-developed and cold cloud tops, and then the grays representing either really, really low clouds or clear conditions at the surface. So let's go ahead and identify some areas of high and low pressure here, and we'll start off with some low pressures. We can see a couple of areas of atmospheric disturbances across the country. We've got one right down here. We can see things rotating right off the Gulf, so this is contributing to pulling in a lot of moisture, as you can see in this channel right here. We also have one that's beginning to form here down in the southeast part of the country. That'll be rotating some moisture in. And then we also still have some low pressure way up here near Alberta, and that is still leading to some rainy, possibly some stormy conditions in Montana and Idaho up there in the northwest part of the country. So these are our prominent areas of low pressure. Let's swap over and talk about some high pressure. We still have a blocking high pressure system here out over the Atlantic. So we are seeing continued dry conditions right along the coastline here. And this high is actually extending and elongated all the way back here into the Great Lakes region for now, as it were. We also have some high pressure regions here right along the Rockies following just behind this low pressure here. So this will also contribute to some interesting weather conditions for the South Central Plains over the next couple of days. But these are the pressure systems that do seem to be at play at the moment. So that's taking a look at some of the major air masses and pressure systems. Let's jump to our synoptic view of our surface map. So again, the synoptic national scale view of what's going on. So here are these pressure systems that we've identified. And the biggest player for the next 48 hours actually is this blocking high pressure here out over the Atlantic, very similar in position to the Bermuda High, that is going to, in conjunction with low pressures here through the mid-plains and the central plains, create what we call the low-level jet setup. And that low-level jet, as you can already see right now, will pull a ton of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, blast it up here into the plains, and then also rotate it around through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. So that's what we'll be watching here. Also with this low pressure here, slowly moving its way northeast, you are looking at the potential for some severe weather in the north central plains and on the northwest side of the Great Lakes region. So there is a slight risk for your region today for some severe weather to pop off, so be on the lookout for that. And then heading into tomorrow as well, there is another potential severe threat for the south central plains with low pressure and moisture that's coming in off the Gulf around this system here. So we'll be watching that as we step forward in time. So we're moving into the afternoon and evening hours tonight. Look at all of this moisture that's being pulled from the Gulf of Mexico up and around as this high pressure continues to rotate things, and also with the help of the low pressure right here pulling all of that warm moist air into the continental air mass, which will allow for the unstable conditions that will drive that severe weather later today. Headed into tomorrow morning for our shift change. So now the low pressure itself is actually kind of broken down a little bit and is rotating around here to the north, actually north of the Great Lakes region. High pressure is still sitting back here. This low pressure will start to develop and actually get brought into this low level jet setup in just a moment. And then with this high pressure out over the Rockies and the Central Plains, at least you'll be seeing some relatively stable conditions for a brief period headed into the day tomorrow. So into the afternoon and evening. So here comes all of this moisture again. Once again, as long as this high pressure is sitting back here and low pressure is coming in down off the Rockies and rotating up and around, we have this low level jet setup. So plenty of moisture here in the southeast, possibly some showers, thunderstorms, and maybe a bit of severe weather for tomorrow evening. Lots of moisture moving up into the Great Lakes region and then starting to work its way up into our neck of the woods up here into the northeast. So we might finally get this break from all of the beautiful weather, unfortunately, although we've had a pretty boring shift so far. We'd be interested to see something other than blue skies and fair weather conditions, but unfortunately we will be down off the summit for that. So heading into Thursday morning then, here comes the low pressure that was forming down here, wrapping its way around the high pressure ridge into the northeast, into the afternoon, and now we can very clearly see this channel of air coming from the Gulf up into the plains, up through the Great Lakes, and then into the northeast. A very typical low level jet setup, lasting all the way through Friday, with plenty of organized moisture making it so that we'll probably see some rainy conditions in the eastern part of the country, at the very least, continuing through into the weekend. So that's the big scope of what's happening on the synoptic scale. Let's jump down to the mesoscale and focus just on the northeast here. And what you're going to see, again, with this high pressure sitting here off to the east, you just see plenty of moisture come in, nothing truly organized over the next 48 hours, just small little pockets of clouds and potential rain showers and storms, very typical of convective afternoon systems as we would expect. So into the afternoon hours today, not a whole lot. We do have some organized systems just across the border up there to the north and some little pockets of organized moisture throughout the northeast, but again, nothing terribly substantial. Heading into tomorrow morning, again, just beyond what we're looking at here, some more organized moisture here, but what you'll be wanting to watch is for that low pressure that was forming into the southeast to start to rope its way around the high pressure ridge, and by the end of the day on Thursday, we should see more organized moisture starting to move into the southwest parts of New England. So not really a whole lot changing here. Again, pockets of organized moisture, nothing terribly substantial through Wednesday afternoon and evening into Thursday morning. There it is. There's your organized moisture down there in the southwest, in the south parts of what we're looking at here. So West Virginia, Virginia, all the way down there, maybe even the southern parts of Pennsylvania, seeing some rain showers and possibly some storms, carrying through along the low-level jet into the end of our forecast period here. So now we have more organized moisture marching through the Great Lakes and slowly approaching New England. So by Friday and headed into the weekend, parts of Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine should be seeing some rain showers and possibly some thunderstorms, depending on how well this organized moisture continues to move along. Now, the bigger story that a lot of people are noticing is that it's getting quite warm. I've been hearing from my fiance down in southern parts of New Hampshire, it's been getting upwards of like the upper 80s or 90s and just really hot. And that trend is likely to continue as we have this low-level jet pulling a ton of warm, moist air down in from the Gulf of Mexico. So you're not going to see terribly much interesting in the way of our wind speeds. They will continue to remain calm until the pressure gradient between the lows circulating around and the high becomes more developed. But what you're going to see is an influx of a lot more warm air coming in from the west and the southwest as this low-level jet continues to develop. So into the afternoon, into the evening hours on Tuesday, heading into Wednesday morning, here comes an initial blast of warmer temperatures. And so for lower elevations, you might see in parts of New Hampshire and like down into Massachusetts, temperatures reaching upwards of like the 80s and 90s. Really warm, humid air moving in, contributing to that temperature increase into Wednesday morning. And it's just kind of sitting right on top of the northeast part of the region here. So again, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts seeing warm temperatures. And if you're looking at the wind field, you can see pretty much south-southwesterly flow right along that low-level jet. all the way through Wednesday evening into Thursday. We do have some less warm areas, I guess is what I would call it, with that temperature moving in from the southwest, but predominantly warmer temperatures all the way through. And you can see another blast starting to move in from the southwest there as we start to get to the end of the day on Thursday, and that will continue into Friday, along with the potential for rain showers and thunderstorms headed into the weekend. All right, I'm going to put you guys back on full screen as we're going to talk about windy here, because it is a little difficult to see when we have high pressure what the wind field looks like. And so this is what's going on currently. So you can see if you're looking off the coast here out over the Atlantic, here's where that blocking high pressure is sitting, just contributing to the rotation around. And then we've got low pressure back here, which is pulling all of this moisture off of the Gulf, and we'll start to push it as the low level jet becomes more developed as we step forward in time through the Great Lakes and up into the Northeast. So let's go ahead and step through. So now we're into Tuesday afternoon, into the evening. We can start to see the beginning bouts of that low level jet form, so we can see even elevated wind speeds as it's starting to become organized and rotate towards the Northeast. You can see the low pressure also moving in. So this is the area that will be the focus for some severe weather today during the overnight hours, so 2 a.m. all the way till 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Now we can pretty clearly see this low level jet setup. We have rotation all the way through up into New England and elevated wind speeds, but still pretty calm conditions as far as winds are considered at 850 millibars all the way through the day tomorrow to the afternoon, evening. Not a whole lot happening for us, but here comes that low up the East Coast. We can see a pocket of elevated wind speeds marching its way up along the East Coast towards us as we step into the overnight hours of Thursday, headed into Friday. This is when we expect this low level jet setup to really organize, and also with low pressure up here and high pressure down here in the southeast, we expect the pressure gradient aloft to become much more organized and allow us to see some slightly more elevated winds compared to like the 10 to 20 mile per hour winds we've been seeing for most of this shift. So headed into the weekend, we'll see some slightly more interesting and some more wet weather, unfortunately, for the weekend ahead. So that's a look at the forecast for the next 48 hours or so. If you're looking for more information, you can head to mountwashington.org/classroom as far as our programs for the next couple of days here. And so our shift changes tomorrow, so I'll be headed down, and Tom will make his way back up here to the summit for the next forecast discussion on Thursday, so make sure you tune in for that. If you're wanting to go back and check out any of our previous discussions, so you can go back and check out the tornado presentation from yesterday, severe storms, lightning, and some of our other forecast discussions a little bit further down. And then stay tuned, as we'll be letting you know pretty soon here what the next month is going to be looking like as far as programming. It's been a very exciting month of May talking about all of this severe weather, so hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed presenting it. But you can go back and check out some of the worksheets or activities if you've missed them over the last month or so, especially like thunderstorms, lightning safety, and tornadoes, some really fascinating topics that we've talked about here over the last month. And again, we'll let you know what's coming in the next couple of days. Also, you guys should make sure to head to the Observer comments page. So it was like a blog of sorts where we talk about really interesting things related to weather at the observatory. And yesterday afternoon, AJ, one of our observers, posted this really awesome blog post about downbursts and macro and microbursts. So we talked about tornadoes in our presentation yesterday. So we're talking about rotational damage, rotational wind damage. Whereas macrobursts and microbursts produce what we call straight line wind damage. And so we have some really fascinating examples of when the summit has been hit by these weather phenomena and what different types of things you can expect, especially again in terms of damage. I mean, just look at all these trees that were blown down by this particular macroburst. So really fascinating discussion that AJ has put up. So make sure you guys go check that out as well. All right, we'll bring you guys back here inside the weather room. So if we have any questions, we'll go ahead and ask them. So nothing yet? All right, well, if you guys do end up having questions, I will be watching the chat throughout the day today. I'll go back and try to answer as many of them as pop up as I can. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is my last broadcast for the week, so I am headed down. And I'm also going on vacation too, so I won't see you guys for a while. I'm going home to get married to my beautiful fiance, so very much looking forward to that. Make sure you guys tune in Thursday morning at 11:15 for Tom's forecast discussion. It's going to be really cool. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed the talks this month. So thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your day.